Okay, Hare Krishna, everyone. So we are reading Srimad Bhagvatam 1.8.11. Prayers of Queen Kunti and Parikshit saved. I'll say quick prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपाकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. Okay. Would someone like to read this one?
Hare Krishna, I can read this one.
Yes.
Sutta Vacha
Suta Uvacha.
No Upadharya Vachastasya
Upadharya
Upadharya
vachastasya
Vachastasya.
Bhagavan Bhakta Vatsala
Bhagavan
Bhagwan
Bhakta
Bhakta
Vatsala.
Vatsala
Apandatvam Idam Kartum
Apandvam
Apandavamidam
idam kartum
Kartum.
Drona Ashram Abudhyata.
droner astram abhudyata.
Translation. Sut Goswami said, having patiently heard her words, Lord Sri Krishna, who is always very affectionate to his devotees, could at once understand that Ashwatthama, the son of Dronacharya, had thrown the Brahmastra to finish the last life in the Pandav family. But the Lord is impartial in every respect, but still he is inclined towards his devotees because there is a great necessity of this for everyone's well-being. The Pandav family was a family of devotees, and therefore the Lord wanted them to rule the world. That was the reason he vanquished the rule of the company of Duryodhan and established the rule of Maharaj Yudhishthira. Therefore, he also wanted to protect Maharaj Parikshit, who was lying in the embryo. He did not like the idea that the world should be without the Pandavas, the ideal family of devotees. Here, Sut Goswami is narrating the incident after Uttara prayed for protection from Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna could understand that this again is a Brahmastra thrown by Ashwatthama. He was so full of venom for Pandavas that although he was punished, he could not tolerate that any Pandav should live in the world. Their progeny should be destroyed. And so he had thrown the Brahmastra to finish the last descendant of the Pandavas, which was Parikshit Maharaj and his mother's womb. And Lord is always partial to his devotees. Although he is impartial, but to his devotees he is definitely partial, and because his devotees are the gems of the earth. So he wanted that Pandavas should rule the world. That is why he has established the rule of Maharaj Duryodhana had sided with the Pandavas to help them win the war. And he wanted that Pandavas should continue, the lineage of Pandavas should continue on this earth. And so he was going to take action to stop this Brahmastra from happening. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, thank you, Mom. I don't have much to share here. I think Mom shared everything here. Any other points anybody wants to make? Okay, we'll keep moving.
Krishna,
Yes.
I'm audible?
Yes.
So, okay. So I just wanted to mention that, this, the words have been chosen very carefully here when they're saying that, Sutta Goswami is saying that um, Krishna is never partial towards anyone, but is still more inclined towards his devotees. And that is how we say that Krishna reciprocates to the prayers of the devotees. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita itself that I'm impartial. So we don't use the word that he's partial to his devotees. It may appear so, but he is more inclined, or he reciprocates are the words we use. That, because the devotees are approaching him with love and with service attitude. So he reciprocates to that attitude. Versus when we say that he's partial, then it means that he's giving different results to different people. And it's not that. If Duryodhan wanted to, started praying to Krishna or surrendered to Krishna, he would reciprocate the same way to him. So he's not partial to the Pandavas, but he's inclined towards them because they are his devotees. There's a subtle difference. Just wanted to point that out. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for correcting us.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, I was thinking about it, but I think we discussed this lately. But yes, you're right. So we don't use the word that he's partial to his devotees. He's impartial, but he basically the principle of ye yatha mam prapadyante. So since devotees approach him, he gives them the mercy, the special favor. Okay. Anybody else would like to share anything? Okay, would someone like to read this? Okay, I'll recite this. Tarheva evatha muni shrestha
तर्हि एवथा
Tarhovath Muni
मुनिश्रेष्ठा
Shrestha
Pandava panchasayakan
Pandavaha
पाण्डवाः
Panchasayakan
Atmano bhimukhan diptan
Atmano
आत्मनो
Vimukhan Devta
अभिमुखान् दीप्तान्
alakshya astrani upadadhu.
अलक्ष्यास्त्राणि
Alakshasani
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki jai. O foremost among the great thinkers, Munis, Shaunaka, seeing the glaring Brahmastra proceeding towards them, the Pandavas took up their 5 respective weapons. Purport: the Brahmastras are finer than the nuclear weapons. Ashwatthama discharged the Brahmastra simply to kill the Pandavas, namely the 5 brothers headed by Maharaj Yudhishthir and their only grandson, who was lying within the womb of Uttara. Therefore, the Brahmastra, more effective and finer than the atomic weapons, was not as blind as the atomic bombs. When the atomic bombs are discharged, they do not discriminate between the target and others. Mainly, the atomic bombs do harm to the innocent because there is no control. The Brahmastra is not like that. It marks out the target and proceeds accordingly without harming the innocent. Hare Krishna. So here Sud Goswami is narrating the whole episode to sages of Naimisharanya who were headed by Shaunak Rishi. So he's addressing Shaunak Rishi here and saying that this Brahmastra was coming towards the Pandavas, and Pandavas took up their respective weapons. And in the purport, Prabhupada is describing how, I think we talked about this lately also, that how Brahmastra is so much finer compared to the weapons of nuclear weapons, atomic bombs of these days, because the atomic bombs will indiscriminately kill anybody and everybody, whether innocent or whether they're the target or not. Everything gets destroyed. But with Brahmastra, they're so fine. It is so fine that it will only kill the target. So since Ashwatthama aimed it at Parikshit in the womb of Uttara, it will kill only that person that it's aimed at, not everybody else around. So it is such a great weapon, such a fine, subtle art that people at that time, or not everybody, but obviously that were trained with the proper gurus and knew the proper mantras and knew how to invoke such a weapon could throw such a fine, subtle weapon. So that's all Prabhupada is describing here about the qualities of that time, or the Brahmastra of that time compared to the weapons of this age. Now, just to, I don't know if anybody else has any insight on this, but we were reading Mahabharata yesterday, and I know that Mom had also asked the question, how come this Brahmastra is coming so late now? All the 3 Ashwamedh Yajnas have happened. Krishna is preparing for his departure to Dwarka, and now this Brahmastra is coming. And then we realized that this was another Brahmastra thrown by Ashwatthama. In the Mahabharata that we were reading, and it's actually on the Veda base, available by one of the devotees, it was supposedly the same Brahmastra. So once the first one, once Ashwatthama threw the Brahmastra, Arjun threw his, and they both met in midair. So this was going to cause a lot of devastation, and so Krishna instructed, actually Vedvyas came and asked Ashwatthama to withdraw it, and Ashwatthama did not know how to withdraw it. Arjun withdrew his on the command of the great Rishi Vedvyas. He withdrew his weapon. Ashwatthama did not have any knowledge on how to withdraw it, so he redirected it. So it was actually at that time he redirected that Brahmastra towards Uttara. He saw Uttara, and he knew that Uttara was in the Pandavas camp, and she was pregnant with the Pandavas, with their grandson. So he fired it towards Uttara with the aim of killing the embryo inside. So that was described in the Mahabharata, that it was redirected. Now in looks like in Bhagvatam it is described a little differently here, and actually this translation is saying that the Brahmastra was aimed at even the Pandavas, to kill the Pandavas, all brothers and their grandson. And so they took up their respective weapons. So there may be different ways this particular incident is described. If somebody has any clarification, we can talk about it, but I mean, both are authoritative scriptures. So I think for us, the purpose is to get the message that Prabhupada is conveying in the purports. But please add or share if anybody has any knowledge on this. If not, we can keep moving. We'll just take the in the Bhagavatam, whatever is described, we'll just talk about that and keep moving. But I just wanted to clarify from yesterday, since we asked that question.
Yes, Hare Krishna. The only other thing I can mention is whenever we come across such discrepancies in the scriptures and they are both reliable, then we believe that they, because these are transcendental pastimes and they are happening in every yuga. Every yuga it happens a little bit different. So that is why they are sometimes described slightly different. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, the chronology of the events may have been different. Like first, when the Brahmas was thrown, at that time only, it may have been directed towards Uttara because he wanted to finish the descendants of the Pandavas. He had already finished the sons of Draupadi, and he might have said that uh, directed Brahmastra and all the descendants of the Pandavas. And so the last progeny who was in Uttara's womb was also a subject of this Brahmastra.
So again, what we know is from the scriptures, one is authoritative that says that from Mahabharata that it was the same Brahmastra when both of them, one Arjun threw, one Ashwatthama threw, Vyasdev came in between and Vyasdev asked Arjun to take his back, and Ashwatthama then concentrated on Uttara, just thinking about how his father had died because of the Pandavas, and so he was very much against the Pandavas. So he directed that Brahmastra towards, he concentrated on the womb of Uttara and wanted to kill the last um, progeny of the Pandavas race that was there. So so that is one explanation or how the things happened in Mahabharata. And then as Natasha said, here we are reading in Bhagavatam, it's slightly different. There are two different Brahmastra. One was at that time, that was over issue, that completely is a separate event. After that, Ashwatthama was disgraced and everything, and that finished that incident. And then all these things happened, Ashwamedh and all this happened. Krishna was about to leave. And then they had another arrow that was coming to Uttara, and Uttara came running to Sri Krishna. And that is how it's described. So I think they're just, as Natasha said, they're just these two descriptions we should know as it is from these two things. The only thing I was saying is sometimes in different yugas, the past things happen slightly differently. And that may be one explanation why in these two scriptures, these events are described like this. So we don't try thinking too much as to how things may have happened differently or how all they can happen. It is, we just take it as this is one way it is described, this is another way, and it is possible that in different yugas it may have happened slightly differently. That's why they're described in two different ways.
Okay, yes, thank you so much. We'll keep moving.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm so sorry. I got a little confused. I understood what was explained, but I just wanted to understand the series again. So first, he was insulted. His shikha was cut down. That money was taken back from him. And after that, this incident happened where he actually gave another Brahmastra, right? Or I'm so sorry. I
Yes,
just could
ma'am.
not understand.
This is what is described in Bhagvatam that we are reading currently.
Okay.
But in Mahabharata, that's what we were saying. When
Yeah, that you have to, like, the same Brahmastra was redirected.
redirected because he did not know how to withdraw it, and so and then it was nullified by Krishna, and he was captured by Arjuna and brought to. So that was the event. But if
Okay.
you're talking here, so then this is the second time is happening after his shikha was cut and he was punished.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji. Sorry for this.
Sure, no problem. Would anyone like to read this one?
I can try, Mataji.
Yes, ma'am.
Vyasanam vikshaya tattesam
Vyasanam
व्यसनं वीक्ष्य
tesham
तत्तेषाम्
ananya vishaya atmanam
ananya vishya atmanam
अनन्यविषयात्मनाम्
sudarshanina swastrenan swastrenan
सुदर्शनेन स्वास्त्रेण
swanam rak swanam raksham vyadhad vibhu
Anam
स्वानां
raksham
रक्षं
vyadadvibhu.
यदाद्विभुः
Translation. The Almighty Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, having observed that a great danger was befalling his unalloyed devotees, who were fully surrendered souls, and once took up his Sudarshana disc to protect them. Purport. The Brahmastra, the supreme weapon released by Ashwatthama, was something similar to the nuclear weapon, but with more radiation and heat. This Brahmastra is the product of a more subtle science, being the product of a finer sound, a mantra recorded in the Vedas. Another advantage of this weapon is that it is not blind like the nuclear weapon because it can be directed only to the target and nothing else. Ashwathama released the weapon just to finish all the male members of Pandu's family. Therefore, in one sense, it was more dangerous than the atomic bombs because it could penetrate even the most protected place and would never miss the target. Knowing all this, Lord Shri Krishna at once took up his personal weapon to protect his devotees, who did not know anyone other than Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord was clearly promised that his devotees are never to be vanquished, and he behaves according to the quality or degree of the devotional service rendered by the devotees. Okay. Here, the word Ananya Vishya Atmanam is significant. The Pandavas were 100% dependent on the protection of the Lord, although they were all great warriors themselves. But the Lord neglects even the greatest warriors and also vanquishes them in no time. When the Lord saw that there was no time for the Pandavas to counteract the Brahmastra of Ashwathama, he took up his weapon even at the risk of breaking his vow. Although the battle of Kurukshetra was almost finished, still, according to his vow, he should not have taken up his own weapon. But the emergency was more important than the vow. He is better known as the Bhakta Vatsala, or the lover of his devotees. And thus he preferred to continue as Bhakta Vatsala than to be a worldly moralist who never breaks his soul vow. Hare Krishna. Okay. So in this, first it's describe the power of a Brahmastra, that it is being the product of a finer sound, a mantra recorded in the Vedas. So this actually means that how powerful the mantras were. Like Prabhuji sometimes say that some people just take some mantra and just try to recite them, and but there is the mantras are very, very powerful. So there's a proper way to say the mantras or to recite them, because they are very, very powerful. And then here they said that Ashwathama released the weapon just to finish all the members of male members of Pandu family. So this was the reason he actually threw this Brahmastra, because he wanted to finish all the male members of the family, including the Parikshit Maharaj, who was in the womb of Uttara. And then, because Sri Krishna knew this, that the Brahmastra is coming very closer to the Pandavas, and they do not have much time to counteract that. So he took up his personal weapon, which is Sudarshan Chakra, to protect his devotee. And this Sudarshan Chakra, who did not know anyone other than Krishna. So this Sudarshana Chakra is only Krishna can launch, nobody else can do, because it's Krishna's weapon. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord has clearly promised that his devotees are never to be vanquished. Mataji, is this that verse in which is said that my devotee, my bhakta is never perishes, right, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
Which one is that?
Would you like to recite it or?
No, Mataji, I don't. You say first line.
Shipram Bhakti Dharmatma.
No, I don't know, Mataji.
Anyone would like to recite?
No,
Prabhu.
I don't.
Shipram Bhakti Dharmatma Shashvat Shantim Nigacchati Kaunteya Pratijanahi Name Bhakta Pranashriti.
Thank you, Mataji. And here it is explained very well that the Lord actually behaves according to the quality or degree of the devotional service rendered by the devotees. So if we say that he's partial, if we say that he's more inclined towards his devotee, so this is the reason actually that the devotee Krishna also behaves according to the degree of the devotional service. And similarly, here, like Krishna actually took his Sudarshana Chakra to counteract the Ashwathama's Brahmastra. This incident actually reminds me of Ambarish Maharaj also. Like Durvasa Muni was also a very great sage, a mystic, a very powerful Muni. But when he actually insulted Ambarish Maharaj, then Krishna could not tolerate that. And that time also he threw his Brahmastra on that demon which came which came from Durvasa's Muni hair. So it actually explains, because Ambarish Maharaj was also completely surrendered and completely a very pure devotee of Krishna. So the same way Pandavas are also very completely surrendered, although they are all great warriors, but still they are dependent on Krishna. Everything we see they were doing according to Krishna's will. So that is why Krishna took their responsibility, and then he became the Sarathi of Arjuna's chariot, because he knew that they all are completely dependent on Krishna. And the one who's completely dependent on Krishna, Krishna completely protects them. And then although, yeah, and here here it's about the Krishna's vow that he took in the battlefield, that he will not fight, or he will not take up the weapon. But in this situation, because he will do anything to save his devotees, he actually he's actually ready to break his vow and then to shoot this Sudarshana Chakra. So it is explained here that but the emergency was more important than the vow. So Krishna here is actually not not actually trying to break his vow, but he knows the situation. He understands the emergency of the time, that I have to do this to save my devotees. So he is ready to break his vow and ready to take his Sudarshan Chakra. Why he is doing this? Because he is known as a Bhakta Vatsala, or the lover of his devotee, and thus he preferred to continue as Bhakta Vatsala then to known as the somebody that he keeps his vow and he let his devotees die. So he preferred to continue as a Bhaktavatsala than to be a worldly moralist who never breaks his solemn vow. So Krishna, for him, any situation compared to his to saving his devotees is much more important. So whenever this situation comes, even if he has to break any vow, he will do that, and he will fight, or he will protect his devotees. I'm not I cannot remember any other incident. If anybody remembers, please share. I just remembered this Amrish Maharaj story. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I can recall another incident in which Shri Krishna broke his own vow to please his devotee. And that is during Mahabharat war. Bhishma Pitama wanted to see the Krishna in Veeras. So to please Bhishma Pitamaha, Shri Krishna lifted the wheel of the chariot. And although Arjun did say that, Lord, you have taken a vow that you will not lift a weapon in this war. So why are you lifting this? But Bhishma Pitama knew that, Shri Krishna knew that Bhishma Pitama was a great devotee and he wanted to see Krishna in Veeras. So he lifted the chariot. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Auntie, for sharing. I didn't know this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, that Bhishma Pitama incident is very, very glorified. It's Mataji, actually that shloka you were citing, that this Bhishma Pitama's pastime is very famously quoted with that shloka. Name Bhakta Pranashyati. So he kept the word of his devotee. With Bhishma Pitama, like Mom was sharing, he shared Veer Ras. I just on a nothing, not really on this, nothing to do with this particular purport, but I was just remembering. It is said that every devotee has their own relationship with Krishna, right? And Bhishma Pitama was exchanging Veer Ras with him. So like when we try to please Krishna, we offer garlands or flowers or incense or obeisances. But how Bhishma Pitama was pleasing Krishna was by throwing arrows at him. And I mean, he was throwing arrows at Arjuna, but they were also hurting Krishna. And when they would hit him, they would just become flowers. And Krishna was taking immense pleasure in that. The arrows of his pure devotee were like much better than the garlands offered or flowers offered half-heartedly by as a show by other people. Whereas this was a pure devotee who, even though he was showering arrows at him, Krishna was feeling as if they are flowers. And that's what our acharyas describe, how Krishna was engaging in this Veer Ras with Bhishma Pitama. He was enjoying that experience. Okay, thank you very much. Any other realizations?
Yeah, Mataji, I want to add one more point here.
Yes, Prabhu.
So in the last, second last, the line is, but the emergency was more important than the vow. So here, Krishna, Lord himself exemplify how this can be done, and how in another part, due to this vow, many problems has been created in Mahabharata. So Bhishma took the vow that he will remain brahmachari and he will be lifelong dedicated and surrendered to the kingdom of Hastinapur and the king of Hastinapur. So during that Dyut Krida, that game, what is it game? Yeah, so during that game of Pandavas and Kauravas, they have given everything in the game, and during that dethroning of Mata Draupadi had happened, and due to that vow of Bhishma, he thought like, yeah, I am surrendered to the king, and whatever the king says, it is right, even though he knows that this is wrong, and due to that vow, his that materialistic vow he kept and didn't discriminate the right and wrong. Whereas Krishna's action here says that many times we kept a vow for something, but for special emergency, if something wrong is happening, we should give priority to the emergency situation instead of just keeping this our vow, instead of focusing on the what is right and what is not right. So these two examples says we should discriminate the situation actually, not blindly follow the vow all the time. This one point I want to express.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much. Anybody else wants to share anything? Let's see how the next one is. It's a short one. Shall we do this very quick? Would someone like to read? Okay, I can read this. Antastha sarvabhutanam
Antastha sarvabhutanam
atma yogeshwaro hari
Atma
Yogeshwaro
Yogeshwaro
Hari
Hari
swamayaya vrinodgarbham
Swamaya
Swamayaya
Bruno Garbham
Pranudra Garbham
vairātya kurutantave.
Vairatya
Vairatyah
Kurutantave.
Kurutantave.
Translation: The Lord of Supreme Mysticism, Sri Krishna, resides within everyone's heart as Paramatma. As such, just to protect the progeny of the Kuru dynasty, he covered the embryo of Uttara by his personal energy. Purport: The Lord of Supreme Mysticism can simultaneously reside within everyone's heart or even within the atoms by his Paramatma feature, his plenary portion. Therefore, from within the body of Uttara, he covered the embryo to save Maharaj Parikshit and protect the progeny of Maharaj Kuru, of whom King Pandu was also a descendant. Both the sons of Dhritarashtra and those of Pandu belonged to the same dynasty of Maharaj Kuru. Therefore, both of them were generally known as Kurus. But when there were differences between the two families, the sons of Dhritarashtra were known as Kurus, whereas the sons of Pandu were known as Pandavas. Since the sons and grandsons of Dhritarashtra were all killed in the battle of Kurukshetra, the last son of the dynasty is designated as the son of the Kurus. So here I see two main things that are being talked about. One is that how Krishna resides within everybody's heart as Paramatma. We know that, right? A super soul. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hrideshe Arjun Tishtati, right? Ishwar resides inside the heart. As such, just to to protect the progeny of Kuru dynasty, he covered the embryo with his personal energy or his internal potency. With his Swamaya, with his internal potency, he covered the embryo and protected Parikshit Maharaj. So in purport, Prabhupada is clarifying, first of all, why are we calling them the progeny of Kuru dynasty? So that is, I think, understandable. They are all in the line of Maharaj Kuru. So both Dhritarashtra and Pandu come in that same line. So they're all Kurus, whether it's Pandavas or Kauravas, they're all Kurus. But whenever there was any problems between them, differences, so then to distinguish who was being talked about, typically sons of Pandu were referred to as Pandavas and sons of Dhritarashtra were referred to as Kauravas. But doesn't mean that Pandavas are not Kuru dynasty. They're also Kurus. They're also members of the Kuru dynasty. So if Parikshit Maharaj was not protected, then the progeny of Kuru dynasty, he was the last son of the Kuru dynasty, last progeny. So he was to be protected, and Krishna from Prabhupada says from within the body of Uttara, because he's residing within Uttara as Paramatma as well. So he, with his energy, he protected Parikshit Maharaj from the Brahmastra. So I think that is all I understand here. Any other points here, realizations? Sushant Prabhu, you have any points to make here?
Mataji, you have explained very nicely that the root is actually Kuru, and just to discriminate between this Pandu, sons of Pandu and sons of Dhritarashtra, we have which is mentioned as Kurus and Pandya, but however, they are all Kurus itself.
Yes, Prabhuji. Okay, so I think we should finish. I think another 3 shlokas, and then we'll come to prayers of Queen Kunti from 18. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's chant Hare Krishna 11 times.